To kick off this afternoon's program, we have Shelvin Low, Director from SkillsFuture Singapore, who will share key findings from a recent industry survey on how job roles will transition and transform as sustainability gains importance in business strategies and the key skills that will be critical for professionals keen to explore a career path in sustainability. During the session, please feel free to put any questions you have for Shelvin in the Q&A window, and we will address these live after Shelvin's keynote address. So I'll now hand the time over to Shelvin.
Thank you so much, Florence, and a big thank you to our IBF Organizing Committee for inviting me. I'm Shelvin from SkillsFuture Singapore. I'll take the next about 20 minutes to run through some of the research that we've done in the area of jobs and skills in the green economy, in particular in the area of sustainable finance. Just a quick introduction about what my team and I does in SkillsFuture Singapore. We are from the Job Skills Insights Division. It's a new entity, a new setup within the organization, looking at how we can make better use of jobs and skills data to anticipate change, as well as preempt our skill supply ecosystem for some of the new skills and new jobs coming up. So in Job Skills Insights Division, what we do a lot, we have a team of about 15 job skills analysts. Jofa is one of them, and Colin is online with us as well. We look at job skills demand and skills supply data. We look at job posting data to look at what are the skills that are trending up and trending down. We also look at jobs and skills profiles of leading companies, frontier firms, which you will see an example later in the slides, as well as frontier cities, for example, at London, which we will cover in the slides later as well. Next slide, please. So maybe I just start the presentation with a little bit of a look at macroeconomic demand and the macroeconomic situation. So there are some snippets here that's sharing a little bit about how important in the next phase of growth, in our next S-curve for Singapore as a whole, we need to equip our workers with skills in not just innovation, but also specifically on sustainability. And I think increasingly what we're seeing in SSG is sustainability is not just a trend, not just a fad, but we think this is something that will impact the way we work, the way we live, as well as the way we play and communicate one another going forward. And for businesses, especially a workforce who are thinking about the new skills, this is something definitely an area that you need to equip yourself with, whether it's for your job or it's as a way of living. Next slide, please. So because of this, we also then expect that there can be a lot more changes to the your current job role, your current skills. And from an enterprise perspective, what are the new skills that your workforce needs to equip themselves with? And the quote that I mentioned here is a quote by Minister Chan, where we launched our skills report 2021 last December. It's really about, it's not a matter of when, but if, it's not a matter of if, but when, sorry. And how fast, right, really our skill sets will become irrelevant. How do we need to continuously keep our skills current? Next slide, please. So from using a data-driven approach, SSG launched our inaugural Skills Demand for the Future Economy report in last December. This is really a report that we look ahead using demand and supply signals to chart ahead what are the next priority skills that our workforce should focus on in the next 1 to 3 years. In last year's report, we focused on digital economy, green economy, as well as care economy. And we also spotlighted on some of the technical skills as well as the critical core skills, or rather the soft skills, that we think our workforce can invest in, and many of these skills are transferable. That means it's not just for current role or current job, but these skills actually allows you to move across sectors and across job roles. The QR code is on the slide. You can scan it if you want to take a greater look at it. In fact, we are working on our 2022 version that will come out in a few months' time in November. Be happy to circulate whoever is interested to have a copy of the report as well. Next slide, please. So in the 2021 report, we talked about the 3 economies. Here in this particular sharing, I want to focus a bit more on the green economy. In fact, today, when we look across the green economy, we already see many of the sectors as well as our job roles requiring green skills as a part of their work tasks as well as work functions. In fact, more than 17 sectors already, we see some of these green skills required in their job roles, and more than 450 job roles actually requires different types of green skills. And of course, financial services is definitely one sector that you need to increase your investment in these green skills. Next slide, please. So from a jobs and skills perspective, really, how does the green economy affect our jobs and skills? So in SSG, we break it down further into three particular drivers. First is really because of the green economy and green restructuring within existing businesses, we actually do see new business functions emerging. For example, in the area of solar, in the area of energy storage, in the area of aquaculture, as well as agri-tech. These are some of the newer areas, newer business functions, as well as economic activities that we think Singapore has a chance to lead in. The second area is really, even within existing business functions, we do see new green occupations arising. This is because of certain structural changes, also certain regulations, as well as use of new technologies and new practices that's causing these new green occupations to emerge. One classic case is examples like sustainability managers. We never had these roles, carbon traders as well. The larger base is actually the greening existing jobs. So today we think, I mentioned earlier about the 450 job roles today that requires green skills. Many of these job roles are existing job roles. But we do see green skills being required as part of the job because part of the processes are becoming more resource efficient. We are using more green technologies to enhance the process, as well as changing customer expectations as well. So many of these job roles are roles like BD managers, for example, investment analysts, even urban planners as well. Next slide, please. So we do expect the emergence of many of these new products, new services, and new business models in the green economy accelerating as we strive towards the nation's net zero target. On the left here, these are the top 20 clusters of green skills that we have listed in our skills report last year. And we rank them based on the number of job roles that requires these skills. So you will see the skills like, for example, carbon footprint management, sustainability management. In fact, we see many of the skills cutting across demand for these skills, cutting across many different sectors. The first one is green process design. This is a skill that we see across almost all the manufacturing sectors today. So these are skill sets we think for individuals who are thinking about going into the green economy, these are certainly skills you should take note of. Next slide, please. So in SSG, we work with many of the economic agencies as well. And we try to stack the green skills that we see today into 4 different levels to make it simple for our citizens and enterprises to understand. And the 4 levels are really, at the base, is really equipping our citizens with the general awareness and understanding of what is sustainability, how does it affect your way of life, your way of living, how does it affect your day-to-day work as well. So in the past, we always talk about the 3 Rs, but in the next phase of net zero, as we charge towards what is the new 3 Rs or 3R++, for example, that we all need to know. And the second level is really green skills for work and green skills for your jobs, right? Here, we look at, just now I mentioned about the top 20, many of these skills are cross-sectoral and cross-functional. So here we listed them, we clustered them in 3 different clusters for ease of understanding. We see a bunch of skills in environmental clusters, and these are things like environmental protection, environmental sustainability management, as well as environmental awareness, for example. And then there's another basket of skills that's sustainability related. And this cuts across the sustainable design to sustainable engineering, to green manufacturing, to sustainability management, as well as sustainability development. And then there's another cluster that's very important because of the compliance and reporting requirements. And these are skills such as ESG, environment, social governance, non-financial reporting, as well as climate change management. So these are level 2 skills. We feel these are no regrets move for you and me, for everyone, because of the fact that many of our job roles will start to green, in fact. And it pays to invest in these skills early ahead of time. Level 3 really are the skills that we see are quite sector specific and job role specific. And these are green skills such as sustainable product development, sustainable landscape development, food production design, for example, solar PV systems design, as well as green buildings and sustainable finance, including carbon markets as well as carbon markets management as well. The last one really is the green skills for frontier areas. These are things like hydrogen, like carbon capture services, for example. These are the skills that we think are still at the R&D stage. We do see some of the demand signals emerging, but more overseas and more in the frontier firms. we have not seen these demand signals for these skills being more broad-based. Whereas for the rest, we think the demand signals are either immediate to near term, as well as, and therefore it pays to invest in these green skills early. Next slide, please. So in the next few slides, I will zoom in a little bit more on sustainable finance in particular. So in this slide, we looked at the supply of skills, and the source of some of this data is what we cull from LinkedIn Talent Insights, where they have captured the skill sets of Singaporeans, professionals who are on LinkedIn, as well as professionals globally as well. And here we zoom in on some of the financial institutions who are leading in the sustainable finance space. The institutions are listed on the bottom, the footnote below. So what's interesting is we do see in the area of finance professionals, many of the professionals actually do have cross-sectoral skills, those level 2 skills that I mentioned earlier. And these are clustered in the basket below on the bottom right-hand side. So these are skills like sustainable development, environmental awareness, as well as climate change. And it's interesting that both Singapore and international, we see the same trends. In Singapore in particular, we also see high growth in some of the more specialized skills in carbon management, in environmental impact assessment, as well as environmental engineering. And these are the ones that you can see on the top left quadrant, where we basket them up, we cluttered them into one area. So these are skills that are growing very fast in our local skill stock. Next slide, please. So here, we also want to zoom into some of the jobs and skills profiles of frontier firms to understand which are the job roles that requires these green skills, especially in the financial services sector. Are these green roles or are these greening roles, right? So we picked on 4 different international banks, and these are banks that are leading in this in the sustainable finance space as well. And it's interesting when you scan across the 4 leading financial institutions, the job roles will not catch anyone by surprise. These are many of the existing roles in analyst roles, advisory roles, wealth and relationship management roles, compliance, as well as operations roles. What this tells us is many of the financial services job roles actually are greening rather than we see new green roles emerging. And this is interesting because I know many of the audience today are actually in the financial services sector, and therefore these could be some areas that you can think about, because these are the peers that you are probably working with as well, and therefore being able to anticipate ahead that these are the roles that require some of these green skills going forward. Next slide, please. So in order to understand how the green skills will be applied to the job, we also take a look at some of the job descriptions. And here we see some of the skills profiles are changing in existing job roles like bank associates and investment analyst. While the activities are the same, for example, it's conducting research, it's about stakeholder management, it's about reporting, it's about financial analysis. We do see that now the context is really very much in the area of sustainability finance. So it's about looking at research in sustainability areas, looking at research in climate change areas. Instead of financial reporting, is area of sustainability reporting. And what is important is stakeholder management. That is definitely one key area that many of our sustainability and finance professionals will need to think about. Next slide, please. Alongside some of the existing roles, we also do see some new roles appearing in our job posting data today. One example is what you see on the screen, which is a sustainability and ESG consultant. And this is one of the ecosystem partners which does a bit more certification services, providing certification services. And here, again, we see some of the green skills that are required, like climate change management, environmental sustainability management, sustainability reporting, and project management. And it's interesting, many of these green skills that you see on the screen are part of the 12 TSCs that IBF has developed together with SSG earlier this year. So it's very timely. Next slide, please. So another area in the green economy that I would like to spotlight on is in the area of carbon trading and services. This is the area I think Singapore is trying to build up our expertise, and hopefully we can be the carbon trading hub for Asia and beyond. But because of our nascency of our development, we looked ahead and we looked at frontier cities like London, who's more advanced than us in the area of carbon markets. And in the area of carbon trading and services, we look at 3 different sectors that actually, where we see the majority of professionals today with these carbon trading related skills. These are financial services, oil and energy, and environmental services. That's the first column on the in the table that you see in front of you. And among the 3 sectors in Singapore, the hiring demand for financial services with carbon trading related skills are the strongest compared to the 3 sectors. And what's overall that's interesting is compared to London, Singapore is slightly below in terms of penetration rate for carbon trading related services, but we do see opportunity to catch up once we have more and more investments in this area, and we also build up the core skills and capabilities in this area. Next slide, please. So specific to financial services sector, we zoom in on the top 20 skills that are declared by most LinkedIn professionals or in London as well as in Singapore. The top 20 skills are by and large similar. However, you do see the green dots, which are for London. We do see a lot of them, a lot more professionals having carbon trading related skills. And these are areas from carbon credits to carbon markets to carbon accounting, carbon finance, carbon footprinting, carbon management, for example. Many of them also have transferable skills I mentioned, the level 2 skills earlier. And these are the skill sets on the right bottom, which are the sustainability development, climate change, and environmental awareness. So the trends are pointing towards the similar direction. Next slide, please. So on top of the hard technical skills that I mentioned earlier, that it's a need to have for your job and perform your work efficiently going forward, there are also soft skills. And these soft skills we feel are going to be really, really more important as we navigate the change, we deal with the change, and also we equip ourselves to be able to learn on the job and learn in a more agile manner as well. Next slide, please. So in SSG, we have launched our 16 critical core skills, our CCS framework in 2020. Really, these are 16 soft skills that when we spoke to more than 80 companies across 28 sectors, these are constantly mentioned across different people that we speak to, whether it's HR professionals or business leaders or even the functional leads. And here we group them into 3 different areas. Number 1 is ability to think critically, covering skills like sense-making, transdisciplinary thinking, problem solving as well, and decision-making and creative thinking. There's another set of skills that is really helping us to learn from one another and interact with one another. These are really the skills in the middle that spans from building inclusivity, and is increasingly important in the green economy and this, to be sustainable for workforce as well. And the area of collaboration and communication continues to be very important. Customer orientation, developing people, as well as influencing skills. The third bucket is really skill sets to help us to stay relevant. And these are the skill sets that we are looking at, like learning agility. How do we learn from different learning models? How do we learn effectively on the job? Self-management. How do we manage our own emotions? How do we manage ourselves so that we can jump back up when we face problems, like a trampoline within ourselves, right? How do we learn to have a global perspective, right? Because many of the green economy issues are not specific to Singapore, and these are global issues that we need to come together to devise solutions together from different disciplines as well. And then there's the skill sets on digital fluency as well as adaptability. And we have sort of helped to zoom in on some of the skill sets that we highlighted in red. We think these are the skill sets that will be increasing more and more important as we look at leadership as well as change management in the green economy. Next slide, please. Here we look again into the job posting data to see what are the key soft skills that employers are looking for. Because sustainability roles are so broad, we zoom in on chief sustainability officers as an example. And here you see the top skills, soft skills are communication, problem solving, and self-management. And these are critical because I think in the green economy, we really need to look at building compelling storylines, right, to communicate to to different multiple stakeholders in the green economy and in the area of sustainability. How do we problem solve, right, in a situation where many of the solutions are not known, unprecedented problems are unprecedented? How do we create a culture of continuous improvement so that we can anticipate these potential future problems to come? And the third one is really about self-management, I mentioned earlier, is how do you devise strategies to manage our own personal well-being, our personal effectiveness, as well as our personal branding. And then there's a collaboration as well as developing people. Next slide, please. Last but not least, I just want to, since we're all in the financial sector, right? Really, I think in the financial sector, we always think about how we can generate the best returns on our financial investments. How can we always look at different investment opportunities that can up our return on investment? So I want to challenge everyone in a sense, how do we look at ourselves as our skills and think about how do we maximize our ROI in terms of return on our career? And in a simple 5-step approach, SSG has a simple way to help you think about it. And a simple way really is about, number one, taking stock of your own personal skill stock, really to understand what skills you have. And these are not just skills that you build over your studies. These are also skills that are transferable from your past years of experience if you are a mid-career worker, right? And very simple, you can always put in a LinkedIn account, for example, and you can see where your skills stop compared with your other peers, right? And then you have a rough sense of where your skills gaps are. Next is really to initiate conversations with your manager if you are currently employed, or speak to any one of our skills ambassadors within SSG. We have many skills ambassadors across the island that you can speak to us to understand what are some of the skills gaps, and also what are some of the ways we can help you to plug the skills gaps, be it looking at SkillsFuture career transition programs, or simple upskilling modules that can help you to target those skills gaps. Third, of course, then is to take action by signing up for some of these courses, and we have a wide variety on our My SkillsFuture portal, and I think IBF has a number as well that you can attend some of the workshops later as well to see which is the one that really suits you and can help you to effectively plug the skills gaps. Number 4 is to practice the skills learned at work. So to us, skills learned is no use if you don't practice them at work, and therefore it's really about finding opportunities at work where you can practice the skills through on-the-job learning, through project work, through peer-to-peer learning as well. And here I'll encourage our employers who are on the webinar to also give opportunities and create these learning opportunities for your workforce to practice the skills at work. And number 5 is really about keeping track of emerging trends. So I think some of these activities IBF is arranging is super helpful and super important. I want to congratulate IBF for doing this year after year. And there are many other platforms as well that we encourage our audience to sign up for. One is the skills report launch that we will see end of the year, but we do have many others as well. So feel free to sign up, or you can scan the QR code and give us the particulars and we'll keep you in the mailing list as well. Next slide, please. I think this is my last slide. So these are some of the workshops that IBF has curated as part of the virtual career fair that you can see on the left. The themes, titles are there, as well as the details and the dates. On the right side are some of the training programs the SSG is funding together with our institutes of higher learning in the area of sustainability finance, right? So you see many different areas across SMU to NUS to the different IHLs and autonomous universities. These are links. You can click on the links and you can directly access the website and look at the courses yourself. But there are many, many courses, so feel free to look into it if you are looking at courses in this area. Next slide, please. With that, I come to the end. For more information, you can access this type of slides on our virtual booth. You can also see some of the programs that I mentioned earlier in our virtual booth as well. With that, I come to an end. Thank you so much for listening.